pressure, yeah, no pressure, yeah. All we do is stress, no pressure, yeah. All we do is stress, no pressure, yeah. All we do is stress, no pressure, yeah. All we do is stress,
living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners caught the charge for all this love like elder bars. Fresh dress, living large, German whips in my garage. Most my partners caught the charge for all this love like elder bars. We keep it rockin', these chicks be flocking my coupe. We keep it rockin', fresh eggs outside of my stoop. We keep it rockin', they love to give us some play. We keep it rockin', homeboy, we got 'em, just got 'em.
Hit the club, roll with me, we gon' hit the club. I'm back now, my Mac down, on black like my background. From the back door to the VIP, no charge, I'm VIP. Jesse James don't need ID, reppin' FAM9D. Now go hop in the truck though, baby girl gon' move on your butt though. And you know I'm still rollin' with the thugs though.
Today, Mlb and Wnba pre-lock live. I'll be here. Pete Cole here. Walter Waddell is also with me. My man, he's going to be after me. I'm going to go first. He's got a big slate today for WNBA. It's a 5-game slate. I believe, unless I misunderstood it, this is one of the last slates before Olympic break coming up. This is actually the last MLB slate until Friday because we have All-Star game coming up this week. So, a big day today. We have a big day going on here at your Fielder's Choice. Anybody new that's watching live, $35 a month for new subscribers. First 6 months, that includes every single sport, pretty much that FanDuel and DraftKings offer. Free Discord, and then we have premium rooms and so on. But there's a lot going on. We've got a winning lineup stream. We're pretty much cashing. I'm looking at it right now, cash most of the sports. Of course, MLB, we've been cashing, MMA, seeing some WNBA, green, esports, and so on. So, a lot going on today. NBA Showdown tonight. WNBA, said the 5 games, is also WNBA Showdown with Minnesota and Los Angeles, I believe. NASCAR today, 3:45. Eric has got right up on that. The Quaker State 400, so check that out. In our content room, soccer, the big Italy-England match today at 3 p.m. Adam V12 will have content out on that. And then also, of course, we have esports going on. Eric does that, does CSGO every day. Pretty much seeing CSGO cashing every day here also. So a lot of good stuff going on. It's a big day today. It's a Sunday. And then we have kind of a lull for a couple days with the All-Star break. So if you're going to play DFS, today's the day to do it. I'm actually probably going more bankroll than I have for the last few weeks, but there's going to be a couple days off. So let's get it. Start MLB weather. There is a little bit of weather going on. Of course, I just had it called up and then I skipped it. So I don't think there's anything like Well, the Royals Cleveland game, there is some concerns here. They're hoping to play through rain, but want to pay attention to this because there is enough rain where they actually may scrap it. So pay attention to Kansas City, Cleveland. I do have some interest a little bit of that game because of the pitching. Beside that, in Wrigley, the Cardinals and the Cubs, kind of a little bit same as yesterday. Late rain all game. They played it yesterday, but we'll see what they do again today with the break coming up. Winds are blowing in, and then that's pretty much it. There's some chances of pop-ups in the Baltimore White Sox game, which is a big game for offense, and then the same in the Pittsburgh Mets game. I think some pop-up storms, but that should be okay. So the main game we're worried about right now is Cleveland at Kansas City. Let's go to Vegas. I was just checking this out. Vegas is kind of weird because there's only 3 teams over 5 implied runs, which especially for a Sunday, this is an 11-game slate. That's not a real lot. Of course, the White Sox will lead everybody at 6.1 implied. They did open at 6.3. They're down a little bit, 6.1, and that's mainly because the game environment. They're going up against this kid Spencer Watkins, who's a righty. He's a young righty. I don't expect him to last long. The O's bullpen is actually taxed also. I watched that game yesterday, so they use a lot of guys in the bullpen. So the White Sox are going to be popular because this high implied. They're going to be chalky. We'll talk about that in a second. Who else? We got the Red Sox, 5.4. And I do expect that to actually go up because Aaron Nola has just been scratched. The Phillies starter, COVID protocols. So I really hope this COVID stuff's not starting again. I see it starting like in KBO. They're talking about suspending a season for a couple weeks, but he's been affected by COVID protocols. I see Alec Bohm is also affected for the Phillies. That's all I see for right now. So the Phillies now have this kid pitching. What's his name? Christopher Sanchez is pitching. So that's kind of an upgrade to the Red Sox bats. So my top plays article should be out shortly. I didn't actually bring up too many Red Sox, but I think we actually got to start talking about some Red Sox, especially Red Sox power righties against this kid Christopher Sanchez. And the other team for Vegas that's over 5 is the Twins. They're also going to be popular against Detroit, and that's mainly because Detroit is thrown out again. Willie Peralta. Willie Peralta is back in the major leagues. He was out for like 3 seasons. He's back pitching, so pretty cool to see him match up with him and Nelson Cruz today. But Peralta, a gas can. Twins are going to be popular also. So all 3 of those teams will be popular today because of Vegas, Red Sox, Twins, and White Sox. And that's it. That's it for any teams above 5 implied. Pitching. We look at pitching right now. We're pretty much just looking at starters for cash games. Looking at our cheat sheet is not out yet. So, but pretty much from what I've seen across the industry, looking at ownership, it's looking at probably like 3 or 4 pitchers are the main pitchers looking at for cash. The first one is going to be Brandon Woodruff. I think he's going to be your SP1 for Milwaukee. I don't love Woodruff today, but he's the most expensive. He's 10K. No one else is priced higher than him. There's only 4 pitchers actually above 8,900. But Woodruff is probably going to be your SP1, I believe. That's what I'm leaning right now. Or Lopez. I mean, I'm definitely pitching Pablo Lopez as either 1 or 2. But Woodruff is in the mix. It's a tough matchup, though, against the Reds. The Reds are not easy to pitch to, especially right-handed pitchers. But he does have the smallest implied. I think it's 3.2. And he's got almost 11K per 9 strikeout rate today. So, I mean, Brandon Woodruff is Brandon Woodruff. He's come to the point where he's probably almost matchup proof. So I wouldn't dive too deep into that today. Going up against the Reds. Let me see. I mean, yeah, strikeout 10.5 strike batters per game. He doesn't walk many guys. 2.9 xFIP, which is probably one of the best in MLB. He's got a good ERA, great WAR. So even with a bad matchup, I still think he's probably the best cash play of the night. So I'd probably lean Woodruff as my 1, and then my SP2. I'm definitely on Pablo Lopez today for Miami. I'm actually answering that question right now, Dave Jones, and you're asking about top pitchers. But Lopez is probably my favorite overall today. He's coming in with a 2.94 ERA, and he's quietly having this a smoke season. He's raking. I mean, he's got 321 FIP, 339 xFIP. He's got 102 strikeouts, but he's only walked 23 guys. So that's a 20.6% K to walk rate, which is like 22nd in the majors. Doesn't give up hard contact. He's got his 21.8% soft contact rate, fourth best in the league. He's only behind Wheeler, Brandon Woodruff, who's pitching today, who said, and Ryan Yarbrough. He's got 37% one chase rate. I mean, he's having an overall awesome season. He's going up against the Braves, who usually are not a great matchup, but they're missing Ronald Acuna, who looks like he's out for the year. We saw that yesterday. So now all of a sudden, too many big bats to worry about. So looking at the Braves lineup, I mean, it's still not the greatest to pitch against, but when you're missing Ronald Acuna and your new leadoff batter is Adrianza, it changes a lot of things. So, I mean, you really only have to worry about right now is Freddie. And even Albies are better. I mean, Albies is better against lefty pitching. Same with Austin Riley, who's a righty batter. The Braves are running out one left-hander today, which is Freddie. And then you got Albies, a switch hitter. Adrian's a switch hitter, but I said Albies hits better against lefty pitching. So, to me, Lopez is in a really good spot. I think one of the best spots other day. Let's see. The implied total is 3.4, only behind Woodruff. So right now I'm looking at Woodruff and Lopez as my top two for cash. Jose Barrios does have to be a part of the conversation. He's going up against the Tigers and Willie Peralta. They're like the bottom third of the offense in team offense, 304 Wnba. They strike out over 27% of the time. We do know Barrios has, big time K upside, especially in this matchup. He's having a great season. 3.52 xFIP, which is good. Probably his best over his career, probably striking out a batter inning. And he's a big favorite, minus 215. So Barrios are up there also, and not a bad price, 8K. So if you want to get away from that Woodruff's 10K salary, I'd have no problem running Lopez and Barrios between with Lopez being 7.3, but just way too cheap, and Barrios being 8K. You can also do that also. I just want to see closer to lock and see what our projections look like from our cheat sheet and see how high Woodruff's going to be owned. Because if Woodruff's going to be right in the middle there, maybe you can make a change. But all three of those guys are in play. I also like Robbie Ray. Today, Ray may make one of my main lineups. He's going up against Tampa Bay. Ray's having a renaissance season, pitching really well. Now, let me see. He has Tampa. I mean, Tampa is one of the biggest strikeout teams in the major leagues, especially against lefties. What's Ray's price is 9.4. I don't like the price though, but he's got 2 starts against Tampa this year. He's gone 7 innings in both of them. The only thing concerns me though, he hasn't struck out. He hasn't reached 8 strikeouts in those games. I mean, he'll usually get you 6, 7 innings. So we are seeing more. I mean, he is definitely getting the pitch count against the Rays, but especially a team that the Rays that strike out a lot. They didn't strike out much against the Ray in his 2 starts. So, but I still like Robbie Ray. I just think he's always been a good pitcher. He's had some bad luck. He's turned the especially around this year. I think he's in a great spot against Tampa, especially when Tampa's big bats like Meadows and Brandon Lau are lefties. If you want to pitch against Tampa, you want to be a lefty pitcher. So I do like Ray. He's up there. He's one of my top 4 pitchers of the day. Anybody else? Possibly Ian Anderson of the Braves. Going up against the Marlins. Marlins strike out probably more than any other team in major leagues. Especially, we see the last 2 weeks are striking out 28.2% clip, 130 ISO, which is horrible. That's the worst in major leagues beside the Cubs. He's a sneaky play here. He's $300 cheaper than Barrios. So, and he's coming off another 30-point effort. So Anderson's in there also. So I think your cash play is going to be Woodruff, Lopez, and Barrios, and then maybe mix Robbie Ray in there and a little bit Ian Anderson. Any other questions on pitching? I said pitching's really like cut and dry. There's a few guys up there, and then after that, they're mostly just GPP plays. See if I missed anybody. Luis Castillo going against the Brewers, more of a GPP play, but we all know what Castillo can do. He can come in and give you 40 DK points all of a sudden. Mlb Valdez against the Yankees. Yankees have not hit lefties, 206 ISO. And then you got Wainwright and Trevor Williams in that Cardinals game. But it's a little bit of rain there, so I'd be worried about using pitchers there. And then, of course, Chris Bassett going today also against the A's. So Chris Bassett is on one of those other guys where, to me, he's more of a better real-life pitcher. But against the Rangers, the Rangers obviously cannot hit. He's ready, though. You got Joey Gallo there as a lefty. Gallo is probably the only guy I would worry about. But Bass, I guess, will play also for GPPs. But once again, it's Woodruff, Barrios, or Lopez, I think, are your main guys for cash in cash games. And on FanDuel, I would probably roll out Lopez. He'd probably be my favorite on FanDuel. Just check our cheat sheet before lock and see if anything has changed. I'm looking at FanDuel prices now. Rays are up there with Woodruff at 10-4. And then, yeah, so I don't know. Now I'm looking at probably Brandon Woodruff for FanDuel for cash. All right, so if that's it for let's go around the bases. Said this is going to be kind of a condensed show. We got WNBA right after me. I'm going around. I'm trying to guess on some of this ownership also because I'm usually pretty close. So we'll see what we come up with. So first of all, catching. I see Mike Zunino's out. Zunino was one of my favorite plays today, going up against Robbie Ray. That power versus power. So we don't have to worry about that. I'm looking at my top plays here is Omar Narvaez. I think is in a great spot. He's batting fourth today for Milwaukee. 404 Wnba, 320 batting average against righties. Plus he's hitting 360 with a home run over his last 7 days. So Narvaez, I think, is in a good spot. JT Realmuto, of course. Now Realmuto's price is starting to creep up a little bit. He's now over 4K, but he is showing signs of breaking out. 360 batting average over his last week, 3 double-digit fantasy point games out of his last 5. So Realmuto's in play. Seeing if any punt plays have popped up. A lot of lineups still aren't out yet. You got the Zavala kid for the White Sox at 2.3. I actually used him yesterday, but going to against this game against Orioles, we want to piece that high and play for the White Sox. So a cheap way to get it is a Serby Zavala who's batting 9th at 2.3. So I guess he can be used. For the Pirates is Stallings catching. So no, Michael Perez is catching. I'm not a Perez guy. You can use Danny Jansen at 2K against Rich Hill. The game is in Tampa though, so it's not much of a it's more of a pitcher's park. And then I see Austin Hedges is catching also and so Roberto Perez is not catching for the Indians. No, damn it. So it's probably going to end up being the kid for the White Sox as your punt play, Serby Zavala. Maybe I see even Sal Perez is out today against Eli Morgan. So the Royals have a weird starting lineup coming out today. All right, so I think your top play is going to be Realmuto, Omar Narvaez, and then if you want to punt it, go to Danny Jansen or to Zavala kid for White Sox unless somebody else pops up and the lineups come out later on today. That's catching. So not much to talk about there. First base, I think it's going to be all about Jose Abreu today in cash. Abreu's going to be the popular play. Let's see what he's probably looking at. Well, he may not be as popular as I think, but I'm seeing. Well, yeah, I'm seeing. He's probably going to be like 25% popular. I'm seeing Alex Kirilloff popping also today. So, but Abreu's going to be the popular play going up against Spencer Watkins. I said the kid's a gas can. He's young. I'd rather see Jose Abreu against a lefty, but this is still a rate that he can crush. I wouldn't worry about it. So Abreu's probably your top play. But then, of course, we got Vlad. You got Vlad going up against the lefty. He's hitting lefties so much better, though, now in the last month than he was before. He's the definite great pivot from Abreu. He's hitting 350, 10 home runs, 25 ribbies over the last month. Vlad's matchup proof. I actually probably like Vlad better than Abreu today. But just know Abreu's going to be popular. Luke Voigt is still way too cheap for the Yankees. He's going to be in the middle of the order. He's only like 3.9. So he's still under 4K. And he's hitting 480 the last 7 days. So I could even, no problem using Luke Voigt in cash. And then it comes down. Alex Kirilloff is going to be popular for Twins. All these Twins are going to be popular against Blake Peralta. Just remember, though, Peralta actually had a good game against the Rangers his last start. Not saying he's going to do it again today, but he ended up with 30 DK points against the Rangers. So it is really Peralta. He's been around forever. He knows how to pitch. But Kirilloff's going to be popular. He's batting fifth today. 319 Wnba with the positive platoon. So Kirilloff may actually end up being my first baseman if I don't go to a Brew. I don't know. I just think the Brew's going to be so high only. I almost have to use them. Anybody else that we're missing? Any of us are missing at first base? I see that's possibly a good pivot or a good GPP play. Gavin Sheets, who's batting low in the order, but limiting that Basto, but he's crushing righties. 444 ISO, 488 Wnba, and a 333 batting average. So Gavin Sheets is in play as kind of a punt. You get the Bradley kid for Cleveland, probably more of a GPP play. He's now up to 5K, but he's got 288 ISO against Rays. So he's in play. And then Matt Olson, lefty against Kobe Allard. Olson's been struggling all of a sudden. He's not hitting like he was earlier. He's only hitting 240 last week, but Olson's always in play. I wouldn't be messing with Votto today against Woodruff. I like to talk about Vlad. Freddie, great GBP play, great pivot off of Vlad in the Brooks. He's going up against Lopez, so more of a GBP play. But Freddie's also $6,200, so pretty much it. I think Goldie's got a BBP off Trevor Williams, if I remember right. So GBP play there. But once again, it's all about Jose Abreu or down at Alex Kirilloff, I think, as your other play in cash for first base. Don Day saying Allard is GBP. And a lot of people, I'm one of those guys. I'm not a Kobe Allard guy, but we have seen Allard actually. He pitched really well. Was that his last game out? The game against Detroit, he pitched really well. And he pitched against Oakland 2 starts ago. He had 14.5 points. He lasted 6 innings. So yeah, I could see him being a GBP play, I guess. All right, second base. The popular play is probably. I don't like second base actually. I'm probably getting up punting and going value. So it looks like the popular play is going to be Luis Arias for Minnesota, mainly because of his price. And as long as Arias is leading off, he's in play, and that's what he is. He's only 3-1, leading off against Peralta. He's not going to give you, he's not going to give you a hell of a lot, but he doesn't strike out. He's a contact hitter. 115 WRC plus against righties, and he's got 361 on base percentage. So I hate using a guy like Arias in DFS, but he's popular. He's going to be over 20%, so he's there. I think West just mentioned there, Ian Happ, 8 for 17 lifetime against Wainwright with 4 home runs. So that puts Happ in play. Is that lineup out yet? The lineup's not out yet. I'm assuming Happ's been hitting toward the bottom of the order, but I'm assuming he'll get that start today. So Happ's in play. Of course, Segura. Segura's been a popular play in DFS all week. Segura should be leading off today. He's still under 4K. I don't like the matchup against Pivetta, but if your leadoff hitter, a guy like Segura is in place at 320 on the year. So, and that's pretty much it. Anybody to pay up at second base today? I'm not gonna, but if I would, it's probably gonna be a guy like Whit Merrifield. He's going up against Eli Morgan. Morgan's giving up hard contact over 45%, 54% fly ball rate, ERA north of 8. So it puts Whit in play, but I'm not spending that kind of money on these guys. I'm probably just gonna drop down. I guess I'll twos in play, but I'm just gonna drop down one of these cheap guys like a Happ, Segura, or Luis Arias at second base. To me, second base is your spend down today. We can pay up and bat somewhere else. All right, so third base. Third base right now, Arias, you're going to see Arias popular at third also because he's second base and third base eligible. If you use him at second in cash, you're probably going to end up using either Yohan Moncada or Josh Donaldson at third in cash. Moncada's been hitting the top of the order. He's not hitting like he was last year. Still a smash matchup against Spencer Watkins. He's got 368 Wnba against righties. I don't love the play, but he came through a bit yesterday. Josh Donaldson is probably a better play. You know, I'm not a Josh Donaldson guy anymore, but he should be back in the lineup today, batting second. I'm assuming he is, right? Batting second against Peralta, he is. It's righty on righty. If not, I really like Brian Hayes today. As long as I'm assuming he's starting, but remember it's a Sunday, batting second or third. I mean, he's hitting 350 over the last week. 304 ISO, 464 Wnba, 4 double-digit fantasy point games out of his last 6. So I like Brian Hayes as a sneaky play. Brock Holt leading off for Texas. I guess you can use Holt. I mean, if you want to go down that low. Third base, this is a weird slate. Third base isn't great either. Here's a play. Rafael Devers with no Aaron Nola. So I've still had my notes with Aaron Nola pitching. So Devers actually could possibly be one of your top plays now. Well, Sanchez lefty, I don't think it's going to matter with Devers. So Devers in play. I like Wander Franco. I like Franco at shortstop also. Franco in limited sample size is crushing lefties. 348 ISO, 457 Wnba, 348 batting average. So don't sleep on Wander Franco today. He's one of my sneaky plays, I would say. Definitely. Matt Chapman against Kobe Allard, but you got to pay $5,500 for Matt Chapman. Maybe Jonathan Villar for the Mets going against DeJong. DeJong is a total gas can, and DeJong is getting a start today. So, yeah, Jonathan Villar thinks it's a good spot also. So I think the popular play is going to be Moncada and Josh Donaldson. I don't like any of those plays, but, you know, if you see these guys over 25, 30%, you probably have to roll with it. But if not, I may drop down to like a Brian Hayes or a Wander Franco and just be a little bit different somewhere. Could you put a Brew at first and Kirilloff outfield, best of both? Yeah, definitely. And that may be what I may end up doing today. Because remember, in outfield, you also have my problem with the White Sox is, and I've seen it a lot, seems like a lot of these guys like Goodwin and Vaughn and never mind. I'm talking White Sox and Twins. Sorry. I mean, no, yeah, we are talking White Sox and Twins. There's these guys like Goodwin get pinch hit for midway through the game. You got Adam Engel batting fifth today. Could he end up getting pinch hit for? So, yeah, but that may be the way to go. Is go Kirilloff in the outfield and the Brewer first. Get both plays. That's a good call, Don. All right, that's third base. So maybe take a look at Rafael Devers now that Nola's not pitching. I do like Wander Franco. Shortstop, going to shortstop. We got this for a big slate today. I hate when the slates is all condensed like 2 or 3 teams. Timmy Anderson is going to be your popular play at shortstop. And I mean, yeah, I'm a huge Timmy Anderson guy. I'd rather see Anderson against a lefty, but he's definitely a play today, as Watkins said. Watkins is a nobody. So Timmy is going to be a top play, be 6K. Are you going to be able to get up to Timmy if you're pitching a guy like Woodruff? I'm not sure about that. If not, probably my favorite play is Bo Bichette today. Bichette against the lefties, he's crushing them. 168 WRC plus, 419 Wnba, 353 batting average. And Hill is allowing a 200 ISO to right-handed bats. So Bo Bichette is probably my favorite shortstop. Batting second, even though Anderson's going to be the popular play. And also, I've mentioned Wander Franco, which I like. I also like at shortstop or third. And that's probably it. Maybe Didi Gregorius for the Phillies. Maybe Polanco. I'm going for the Twins going up against Detroit. But Polanco's so boom and bust. Maybe a guy like Francisco Lindor. I haven't played much in like probably a month or two. So I think it's going to be all around Timmy Anderson. Bo Bichette's probably going to become really low owned, so probably more of a GPP pivot. But I like Bichette a lot today. So Anderson, Bichette, and when Wander Franco is a sneaky play there at shortstop. All right, now moving to the outfield. Outfield's going to be, I don't think outfield also is a pay up today too. There's so many of these mid-price value guys. Kirilloff's going to be popular. Brian Goodwin's going to be popular again for the White Sox because he's batting cleanup. Who else we got? Let me see. Let's just start at the top pay-ups. Yordan Alvarez. I like Yordan Alvarez a lot today. And Alvarez is not getting any kind of love, but he's batting cleanup against Jameson Talon. Got the positive platoon split. We know that. I mean, Tawan actually pitched good his last game, but still, what was that against? It was against Seattle. We had 32 strikeouts or 32 DK points. Houston's not Seattle. Houston's not going to strike out. But Alvarez is going to come in today very low owned, and Tawan is the type of pitcher that Alvarez can smoke. So I like Alvarez today. Nelly Cruz is in a good spot, even though it's a righty. Masloy Peralta, they're my top payups, and maybe Bryce Harper. Now, if we're going down to mid-range, Goodwin's going to be popular because of his price. He is now up to 4.4, but he's rocking from that cleanup spot, man. He's got 320 over the last 7 days. He's hitting with a 393 ISO, and he's got 339 average against righties. So Goodwin's going to be popular again. Franmil Reyes for Cleveland. As long as that game doesn't get rained out, Reyes is a great reverse splits hitter. He's going up against his Carlos Hernandez. Reyes is in play. I also like Tio has dropped down to 4K right against Rich Hill. So he's going to be really low owned. So Tio and Springer are in play. So the Jays are going to be I don't think the Jays are going to be a popular stack today. So this could be a type of game that Jays go off. It isn't a trop. So it's not a hitter's environment. But still, the Rays don't need that. I mean, the Jays don't need to worry about that. They're such a good hitting team where I do like Tio and Springer in the middle of that order. Both of them, especially Tio, is only 4K. Some value plays. You got Trevor Larnach, who's batting third today for Minnesota. He's going to be popular. He's still too cheap, hitting 330 against Peralta. I would anywhere though. I would rather lean toward Max Kepler. Usually Kepler leads off. I'd rather see Kepler leading off than Arias, but Arias I like Kepler down low. He's probably going to be lower owned, but Kepler rocks righties in his way Peralta. So Kepler's in play. He may end up being my main lineup 3-2. Adam Engel is in play for the White Sox, who's batting fifth today. Engel's in play. He's hitting 330 of his last 7 days. So they're all your top plays. There is going to be some punts that open up, like Adrianza, if you're not pitching Lopez, who's leading off for the Braves. Who else we got? Brian Reynolds, probably not most. Yeah, I mean, maybe Brian Reynolds. Brian Reynolds isn't cheap anymore. Ben Gamel, I'm going against Jared Eichhoff. Maybe he's 2K. He could be a punt. Anybody else I'm missing here? That's up in the top. Anybody just pop? Any new orders? Batting orders just came out. I didn't hear what you said. Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry. They just said the cheat sheet has been updated. All right, that's perfect. As I'm ending up here, let me pull the cheat sheet up. So any of you premium members that have access to the cheat sheet, pop it up real quick. See if there's anybody I'm missing, especially as we're talking about the outfield. So Adam Engel actually is coming in from DK as the highest ownership right now at 20%. Interesting, and I see why. He's batting fifth. My problem is he may end up getting pinch hit for. But Brian Goodman's going to be popular. Kirillov's going to be popular. So pretty much all the guys you said. And there's another name, Andrew Vaughn. Andrew Vaughn, I'd rather see Vaughn against the lefty, but Vaughn's coming in there also today, popular at 3,400. Okay, so let's just kind of wrap this up. First, pitching, I'm looking at Woodruff, Berrios, or Pablo Lopez. Our cheat sheet right now, updated, is showing Woodruff, and then pretty much Berrios and Lopez, pretty much the same, and Andy Anderson is creeping up a little bit. First base is all about Jose Abreu. Catcher, Real Muto, which we said. Second base, Arias and Gene Segura going to be popular, pretty much what we said. Third base, Moncada Donaldson, like we said. Shortstop, Timmy Anderson, yep. And then I just said the outfielders. I didn't really hit FanDuel quick, but I got FanDuel in front of me here. I think your popular plays on FanDuel, if you're playing them, is I would core Jose Abreu. Moncada is only 2.8. You're pretty much going to stack in the White Sox today, especially on FanDuel. Timmy Anderson so cheap, and Brian Goodwin. All right, so I think that's it for stacks quick. White Sox, Twins, and Red Sox. And Prize Picks. Let's hit Prize Picks real quick. Code YFC. I got 2 of them right now. I'll probably have 1 or 2 more before lock. We still have an hour and a half. But right now I have Pablo Lopez over 6Ks. Should hit that. And I have Whit Merrifield over 1.5 hits/walks. There's probably some more popping up today, especially take a look at those White Sox today and Twins. All right, so if you guys don't have any questions, nice comment about Judge Lowe only. Yeah, that's good. That's actually a good spot. I'm going to look more into his Yankees also today. The problem is I hate playing against anybody with the Astros, again, going against the Astros. But I think that's it for MLB. So it's a big slate today. We're off until Friday. I could use a break definitely, so I'm going all out today. Same thing, WNBA. They got a huge slate today, 5 games starting in an hour and a half. And I'm going to roll it over to right now to the legend, our knit sports guy, our small sports guy. He's been around forever. Walter Waddell, it's all yours, brother.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you very much to Pete, the MLB grinder. Good content as always. He mentioned this is it for a week on MLB, so you guys make sure you jump in and do what you can there. Maybe play some higher dollar stuff if you're comfortable. Because, yeah, we're going to have a few days off. Same thing with WNBA. Today is the last slate before the Olympic break. There is an all-star game taking place on the 14th of this month. I'm not sure if they'll have DFS for it. It would be cool if they are. The format for it's a little different. The Olympic team, the Women USA Olympic team versus the all-stars chosen for the league. So kind of a tune-up for the Olympic team before they head off. So that'll be kind of a cool deal. It's the first time I think they've done that before. But alas, 5-game slate today. Don DK, FanDuel's got a split slate, so they're doing a 2-game early and a 3-game late because the Minnesota-LA game is much later in the day. Kind of lame for them to do that, but it is FanDuel, so it is what it is. One disappointment is that the prize here is for $15 1K to first is their big GPP. Truly unfortunate. Just on Friday we had a almost 2,500, 3,000 entrant GPP at the $10 level. 5K to first, and it filled. I mean, I think there was like maybe 3 spots that didn't fill. So a bit disappointed that they didn't jump through with that. But we can show them by filling up all these contests and letting them know, hey, you're not going to have much overlay. They're always scared of it, but looks like we're well on our way to filling this one. If you haven't got into the big GPP on DK, the $15, it's $295. It's $313 right now. So now is the time to get in. All right, if you guys have any questions, if you're watching live, you can ask those in the right side of your YouTube screen there on the live chat. Otherwise, you can be in our Discord asking as you're watching it on demand. First game on the slate, Las Vegas versus Dallas. This one's going to be on, I believe, ABC this morning, so national coverage. The Aces are -3.5. The highest total on the slate at 171.5. I think the Wings have a very good chance to win this game, which I'm excited about. So definitely don't sleep on that bet if you're planning to bet any games today. Add Dallas, money line to your parlays today, and I think you'll have a good shot at winning. The 171.5, like I mentioned, is a high total. Ownership on this game is looking pretty low aside from a value play, which I'll talk about in a second. So I think we can start off the slate right with some good leverage. You know me, I'm Mr. Leverage, and get some, a high score and make everybody chase us through the rest of the slate. Liz Cambridge is out. She's on Team Australia for the national games and everything, so she's going to be playing with them. That was big news. She was a late scratch, just before late scratch last time. They did start Kaya Stokes as a player that they brought over from the New York Liberty and signed her. And she played really, really well. So she's going to be heavily, this is one of the players I mentioned is going to be chalky. She's only 4 or 5 on DraftKings. She's basically min price under 4K on FanDuel. She played 29 minutes against the Lynx, which is pretty huge. I wasn't expecting her to quite play that much, but now we see it. She's definitely a play. She had 2 points. She's not much of a scorer, hasn't ever been known as a scorer. She's a very good low block rebounder, protecting the rim, and a great shot blocker. She had 12 rebounds. She did score 20.5 fantasy points, which is 2 points, 12 boards, a block, and a steal. So at 4 or 5, if she replicates that, you're feeling really good. That is a chalk piece that I would definitely, have no problem playing. The name of the game today is stuffing as many upper tier players as possible. I like to build balanced lineups in a lot of sports, but today is definitely getting these high-end options in your lineup, 3 or 4 if possible. So with Stokes there as the chalk, you also have Asia Wilson. She's projecting under 20% owned. She's 10.5K. Last time she played Dallas, she scored 50 fantasy points. That was with Cambridge playing as well. She played 35 minutes, 10 for 18 from the field. It was a relatively close game, 85-78. She had 9 free throw attempts, a 28-14 double-double. Now you take Liz Cambridge away, it's roughly almost 28 minutes, right around, 10, 15 points per game, 10 rebounds. So that's a lot of production to go around that's going to be soaked up there. So expect the, the reigning MVP from last year to do some damage. And at low ownership, I definitely like her. Higher price options, Brianna Stewart, John Claude Jones, Brittany Griner, the Lynx forwards, they're all in that 11K range. So to get Asia Wilson at 10.5 at a steep discount of almost 1K for most of them is a really good high-powered move. So I'm looking at her quite a bit. De'Erica Hamby is the sixth player. She's kind of the super sub. I thought she might start, but they decided to keep her in that bench role. She did play extended minutes last game against the Lynx, 30. She had 27.5 fantasy points, a 12, 9, and 3 game. So she's going to be, pretty effective whenever she gets those extra minutes. Going off against Dallas. Dallas is a pretty high-paced team. Defense is good, but they're going to score a lot of points in this game. So Hamby is a really high-level GBP play as well. She's 8'6", which is kind of a high price to play, but you can feel comfortable with her because of the fact that Cambridge is out. So I would really prioritize it as Stokes, Wilson, and then Hamby, probably in that order. And then if you want to play the guards, Jackie Young, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, they're all in that 7.5 to 8.4 range within 1K of each other. Plum's the super scorer off the bench. Gray's kind of the table setter, and then Jackie Young is really an up and down type of player. Like I could see Jackie Young scoring a 40 today at low ownership. I could also see her putting up 5 fantasy points. She just has a very wide range of outcomes. So definitely keep that in mind. But if you're running multiple lineups, definitely a good solid play on her end. And then for Dallas, if you followed me, you know that they're a very large rotation. They play 10, 11 players. For a while there, they went down to 7 and 8 man rotation, which was nice. Now they're kind of back up to that 10-woman rotation. But the pricing on them because of this rotation is really nice. Starting with Satu Sabali. She's projected to be 3% owned today, it looks like, across the industry. You guys know I harp on about her a lot. She has 30 fantasy points or more in 4 of her last 5. Last time they played Vegas, she had 36.5. She's taken double-digit shots in 4 of her last 5, which is 10. She's hitting threes. She's shooting right around 40% from 3 in the last 10 games. She's averaging 6 rebounds, 13 points, just under 27 fantasy points per game on the total season. But like I said, 4 of her last 5 over 30. And she's only 8.9K. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat there. So at 8.9, she's a high-level GBP play, and I'm going to run her in my main lineup. I just, I want to make it clear, the people that play cash and single entry, that, yeah, she's going to be low on. So if you are not somebody who wants to take a shot in cash, which I understand, or single entry, then maybe look elsewhere. But Sabali's just such a high-level play. I could see her hitting 4X quite easily today against a Liz Cambridge-less Vegas team. Mlb Wnba at 8.7. That's the cheapest she's been all season. She is, seeing a season low in minutes over her last 3, though. She's averaging right around 24 minutes when total season she's been averaging 30. So she's been under 30 fantasy points in 3 straight. Which would be a nice bounce back spot for her. But the spot to beat the Aces, and I've talked about it on Twitter as well, the second best DVP in the league, besides attacking the New York Liberty front court, of course, is attacking the Vegas front court. And now they don't have one of their anchors on defense, Cambridge. So I'm really going to be looking at the forwards from the wings. RK is probably not going to make any of my lineups. But again, if you're running multiple lineups and you're looking at a high-level score at 5%, you could definitely take that shot. If you're hell-bent on playing a guard from this team, Alicia Gray at 7.6 or Marina Mabry at 7.3. Coach Vicki Johnson still is not starting Marina Mabry for whatever reason. She's been playing Mariah Jefferson, who is not very good. So Alicia Gray at 7.6 is a very high-level player. She's on the 3v3 Olympic team. She's a big-time scorer. She has 40 fantasy point games under her belt this season. Typically going to hover around 25. And then Marina Mabry, even though she comes off the bench, she's going to take 10-plus shots. She's a big-time scorer. If this game, goes into OT, or if it stays close throughout the game into the 4th quarter, then Mabry's going to be on the floor. So she does make sense as a play. I see her ownership projection on Mabry is pretty high. She's sitting around, all things considering, it's a 5-game slate. So 20% on her, which, wouldn't normally sound that high, but that's pretty high for a 5-gamer. So I would probably look to Alicia Gray instead, just because I like to have that leverage. And then you have Izzy Harrison and Kayla Thornton, the other 2 bigs that could potentially do well today. Harrison's a little overpriced for me on DraftKings at 8.5, so I probably won't use her, but I don't mind Kayla Thornton at 7.4. Thornton is playing roughly, 28 minutes a game. 2 of her last 3, she's seen 35-plus minutes, so she's definitely going to be playing a lot as long as she doesn't get into foul trouble, which was the case last game. All right, next game on the slate is Connecticut Sun versus New York Liberty. The Sun are -9. It's in New York. The ESPY Awards, I believe, were yesterday, so there's going to be a lot of celebrities there. There's a lot of hype around the game. The projection on the total is only 156.5. That is lowest on the slate. And that's just because the Suns' defense is so good and they play at a snail's pace. So it's going to be their style against New York's, who likes to play a little faster pace. They shoot a ton of threes. I don't think they're going to have any success rebounding the ball today. So on the New York side, I'm probably going to fade them. High-level GP play is always Mlb Wnba. She's a big-time scorer. She averages almost 20 points a game. It's the first time in the All-Star game this year. She's got a lot to prove. She did take 21 shots in that Indiana loss just last game. But she's been upping her peripheral stats well. She had 8 rebounds in that game. 3 of the last 5 before that, she had 6+ assists. So she's adding other categories now besides just being a pure scorer, which is nice and gives her that floor of 30+ as opposed to 25+. And she has hit 40 here in a couple times this last month. So Laney's definitely the play if you want to get somebody from New York. We were riding with Rashonda Gray. She recently just signed a rest of the season contract for New York. But her price on DraftKings is now floated up to 6-1. Can't use her there. She played just 15 minutes against Indiana after playing 24 and 18 in her first 2 games back. Still had 17 fantasy points, which is good. But as far as value goes, Stokes is just such a better play than her. With everybody jumping off Gray, of course, what's going to happen. She's going to end up putting up a 25 or something like that. So, again, if you are max entering 9, 10+ lineups, then it's okay to get some Gray exposure, especially if this game turns into a blowout like it looks like it could on paper. Gray may play, 25-ish minutes potentially. Not going to be playing Sammy Whitcomb at 9-2. That's just blatantly overpriced. Kylie Shook at 7-2 is okay. I know she had a good game last time out. But there's just too much volatility here for the Liberty, especially in a low total like this. There's just a lot safer plays. The slates haven't been as high scoring recently as we would think they would be. So even though I'm telling you to build a little top heavy today, you still want some safety in your lineup. So when you think of the New York Liberty, there's really no one safe except potentially Laney, who is capable of putting up a clunker as well. And then the Golden Child, Sabrina Ionescu, is only 8.5. It's a pretty good price for her, but you see she's on a minutes cap right now. It's a true 25-minute cap. She has floated above that. She has floated a little bit under that. So somewhere between 20 and 30 is where she'll land at. Even though it's a good price at 8.5, she's not going to hit the 3x, 4x number enough for you to really justify that price, unless, like I said, you're running multiple lineups. On the Connecticut Sun, the number 1 highest owned play of the day is going to be Jonquel Jones. I'm always a big proponent of playing her. She's for me, she's the best player in the world right now on the women's side, even above Brianna Stewart and someone like Candace Parker. Overseas at Eurobasket, she was putting up 24 and 18 double-doubles every night. She has 3 games over 50 on her last 5. The 2 down games for her were 32 and 35. Which is still a good score. Her price has risen, thankfully, to 11.4. If she would have been 10.8 or 10.7 or something, I would have been forced to play her, which is fine. I just want to do something else with my salary today, in my main at least, and potentially get some better ownership numbers, on a 5-game slate. As Captain Leverage as I am, I just don't like playing somebody that's 50% owned on a 5-game slate in these big GPPs. In cash games and stuff, yes, of course, it makes sense to do that. But the leverage you get if she only puts up a 30 is massive. She does have the number 1 DVP in the league. We know that New York front court without Natasha Howard is atrocious. So expect, Jones to put up 13 to 15 rebounds, maybe more. On that token, Brianna Jones, her teammate, first-time All-Star this year, could also potentially get 10+ rebounds. So I like her as a GPP pivot. I was kind of playing around this morning, debating using her in my main lineup, but I decided not to. But yeah, Jonquel is a walking 50. In this matchup, she could potentially melt the slate. And if you don't have her, you could be in real trouble. So definitely consider playing her. Everybody else on the team is okay. I mean, Dewana Bonner is always in play. I kind of usually fade her, though. She's better in close games when they're blowouts or games that aren't competitive. She tends to, let the other players shoot, and she kind of lets her foot off the gas. Natasha Heidemann at 5'7" is sort of interesting, but I would just be looking at Jonquel Jones or Brianna Jones for this one. Indiana versus Atlanta. The Dream are -4.5. It's a 163.5 over under. Indiana's got some injury situation stuff going on right here. They are going to be without Betty Hattar, who's the unicorn 6'10" player that can hit threes. She went back to Hungary to have her doctors look at the injury she has. And then they're going to be without Jontel Lavender, which she's not hurt. They're pulling the San Antonio Spurs during the Duncan era load management. That's the first time really this year we've seen anyone for load management miss a game. The Fever are clearly tanking. They won a game. They won a couple games recently, actually. They beat the Sun, and then they just beat the Liberty recently. So they're only a few games out of that last playoff spot, and it seems all of a sudden the Fever might sneak in. Clearly, the management wants to get a high draft pick because there's really no reason for them not to play Lavender. Not as if Lavender's their best player in the world or anything, but she's a good defender, good rebounder. They could use her for this game, but alas, they're going to go ahead and sit her. So that means Jessica Breland at 8-1 is a very strong play. Tiara McCowan at 9K is also a very high-level GBP play. I probably wouldn't pay 9K for Tiara McCowan unless I'm running 5+ lineups. She's just way too volatile. But I could get behind Breland. I could see Breland, kind of gaining ownership as we head towards the lock. Right now, it looks like she's right around 28 to 30%, so pretty high owned on her right now. So keep that in mind. She does have games of 29, 40, 28, and 36 over her last 8. So she definitely has that high level ability. She's not much for taking a ton of shots. She's a big time peripheral type player, though. She is averaging 7 rebounds, 3 assists, almost a steal, almost a block per game. Over her last 5, she does have 10 blocks. So the Atlanta Dream front court is pretty soft. They get blocked a lot. They don't defend well. I could see Breland putting up one of those 38, 35, 36, 35 type of games where she busts the slate at 8.1. So if she's going ownership like that, definitely consider her. Danielle Robinson is playing really well. She's 8-1 now for Indiana, but she does have 4 of her last 5 over 27 fantasy points. She's kind of coming into her own. She's a veteran. And then I like Kelsey Mitchell. Her price has ballooned up to 8.6, which I don't like, but she does have 2 of her last 4 over 30 coming off that 35 fantasy point game against New York, 24 and 5, which is nice to see. She typically is reliant on scoring, but you see the 5 dimes, 4 boards there is pretty comfortable for playing her in my GPPs there. She does have a high upside. On the Atlanta side of things, they all basically busted last slate. Courtney Williams, Crystal Bradford, Odyssey Sims, they all were poor. Courtney Williams' price has finally gone below 10K, which is pretty intriguing. She's 9.7. I would normally jump all over her at this price, especially against a team like the Fever, but it kind of seems like the distractions of things going on. Kennedy Carter suspended for this one. Tiffany Hayes is injured still. They got all that drama. There was a locker room fight, I guess, a tiff, and guys, I tweeted about that for a little bit, and it just seemed like Courtney's mind wasn't there in that last game against Connecticut, and she should have been. That was her former team. It was a revenge narrative. Everything set up. She had a season low, damn near career low of 15 fantasy points. So she will be very low owned. She's a really nice target. If you're running multiples, definitely get exposure. My main, I guess, beef with Courtney is the fact that she will purposely skip taking a 3 and dribble 2 feet inside the 3-point line for her classic 2-point jumper. She is known for taking mid-range jumpers, which is fine, but it's annoying to see that right inside the 3-point line because as DFS players, we want that extra point. She is going to play 35-ish minutes if this one stays close. I think it'll either end up playing down to the wire or Atlanta's going to lose. I don't see Atlanta blowing Indiana out here. I just don't with the way they're playing. Courtney's going to take 15+ shots. Peripheral wise, she's a good rebounder. So with the Fever being down a couple front court players, I could see her, potentially have a 7-8 rebound game at 9.7, making her interesting. I don't know. I have a really bad feeling about her for some reason. And usually I like using her. Cheyenne Parker, 7.9. She's my favorite front court player for the Dream, but the Dream kind of take turns with their front court. Mo Billings, Liz Willie, Bradford to an extent. They have decent games. Sometimes you're all right. Can you go get your mom? And then with Parker being 7.9, sorry, she interrupted my daughter. It wouldn't be a show if I didn't. And then Tiana Hawkins. So they'll all kind of cannibalize each other, play 18 to 20 minutes. It's hard for any of them to pay off. Liz Willie's price is down to 6.4, which is pretty intriguing, but she can't get over 20 minutes at all. I do have kind of a super secret sneak value, and it's not even that super secret. Ari McDonald at 4.8K. If people are going to go Shea Petty, which we're going to talk about here in the Phoenix game, Sterling, she is somebody who is a good pivot off the chalkier Shea Petty. She played 24 minutes in her last game. She scored 23.5 fantasy points. She was only 4.8 now. She had 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, took a total of 6 shots. and hit 2 of her 4 threes, got to the line. So I do feel like with, Kennedy Carter out, Tiffany Hayes out, they're going to continue to give Ari some minutes here. You look at it through her log and you say there's really nothing to show that, but Carter wasn't suspended during those times. When McDonald's on the floor, she's there for our offense. We know that she made a run with Arizona to the Final Four. It's a big-time scorer. If they decide to get rid of Kennedy Carter via trade or whatever, McDonald is somebody they're going to be banking on for that production. So at 4'8", I like it. Right now she's about 13% compared to Petty's like 22% as far as ownership goes. It's not a huge difference, but that could, actually make all the difference in a big GPP there. So I am going to probably be riding with Ari. It's nerve-wracking. It's not a safe play. But after seeing how much usage she took last game, I could definitely see her pay this price off again. That's it for that one. Let's go on to the next game. All right. So Phoenix Mercury versus Seattle Storm. This one is out in Everett today, the Seattle suburbs. They're minus 8.5 the Storm. This is 163.5 over under. The Mercury just beat the Storm in the last game at Phoenix, and that was without Taurasi. It was 85-77. Kind of an easily handleable win. It was overtime as well. The Phoenix is going to be down a few players, so they have 7 healthy. You have to suit up 8 per rule, so it sounds like Taurasi is going to suit up to satisfy those 8-player rule, but there's very little chance that she plays. She's highly questionable. I doubt it. If she played at all, it would be under 10 minutes. So I'm not worried about her. Sophie Cunningham, the super value play from the other day that we used, she was on her way to smashing the slate. She had 12 fantasy points at 3-8 at halftime. Had a concussion right before half. We lost her. That's very unfortunate. But they're down another player. This means Shea Petty, who at 5K is on DraftKings here and even cheaper on FanDuel, is going to be a big play. I think that ownership projections are being modest with her. I would see in cash games her being very, very much higher than 22% at this 5K price. She allows you, when paired with Stokes, to fit 3 additional studs into your lineup. She played 26 minutes against Seattle. Again, that was an extra period. The game before that against Vegas, she played 20. She's had 11, 17, and 24 fantasy points over her last 3. So I'd like to see her be a little cheaper than the 5K. But again, her and McDonald kind of, for me, project very similar in terms of total fantasy score. I just like McDonald's ability to score a little bit more because the Mercury diverts so much of their offense through Britton Griner and Skylar Diggins-Smith. Speaking of them, Griner's 11-1. Diggins-Smith is 10-2. I was pretty heavy on Griner last slate. She rewarded us with a 52. I'm going to be all in on her again. Right now, she projects around 25% owned. She's going to play the entire game. They're going to run it through her. She's immune to foul trouble today because they have no choice but to play her. So I am definitely going to be heavily on her at that price, even of 11-1. And then Skylar Diggins-Smith, who should still be low owned. She was pretty low owned last slate. I had her in a few of my alt lineups. 48 fantasy point game from her. She had to take over when Sophie went down. She's going to be handling most of the ball handling duties. Kia Nurse right now, struggling with her shot, not offering a lot. So SDS is taking over and having a high usage. She's actually had back-to-back games over 40 fantasy points, and she has done good against the Storm in the past in previous seasons. So I know that the 10-2 ask is pretty high, but Mercury stacks are going to pay off today. There's really just very little chance that they bust, honestly. And if SDS is going to be under 15% owned, I'm going to be all in on her. Some of the other players, Brianna Turner at 8K, she has intrigue. She'll probably be the one to try and guard Stewie. She didn't have a very good time of it last game, but she is one of the better defenders on the Phoenix Mercury. You see she only had 14 fantasy points in that last game because of a lot of her energy and what she did was exerted on defense. So there is that risk there. But again, a GPP play of 2% owned on Brianna Turner. If she has one of her 36 games, 30, that's a really big, differentiator from the rest of the field. Other players that are going to have to be thrust into minutes, Megan Walker at 4.7, Kia Vaughn at 4.4. Vaughn's been in the league forever. Seems as though she's incapable of playing huge minutes, so maybe only 15 for her. But Megan Walker at 4.7, she'll be relatively unowned. You see 3 of her last 4 games, she's taken 6+ shots, and she's played over 16 minutes in each of those games as well. Haven't had a lot of results. She's averaging around 12 fantasy points per game during that time, but she's a big-time scorer. She can hit threes. She just doesn't add anything in terms of secondary stats. But at 4.7, you're looking, you don't want to be all in or have all your money tied up on the same Kaya Stokes. value play or Ari McDonald, Shea Petty, and you want to have a differentiator, Megan Walker is a good pivot for that reason. Seattle Storm, they are going to be without Ezzy Magbagor and Stephanie Talbot again. They're also off to the, doing the Australia team thing in the Olympics. Brianna Stewart's going to play a lot of minutes. Her price is up appropriately. She's almost 12K. I always like to get leverage off her when I can. She did score 41 last game. The game before that, 50. So she's a very safe play. If you can make it fit with her and feel comfortable with it, definitely play her at 11-7. I just personally feel like with Asia Wilson being 1,200 cheaper or Griner 600 cheaper, there's just, for similar scores, I need that salary so that I don't have to take, an undesirable player from my last spot. But if you can make it fit, with the Jonquil Jones as well, then by all means do that. Stewart's rarely going to bust, if ever. She's had, 2 down games really this entire season, so she's as safe as they come. As far as the rest of Seattle, Jewel Lloyd always makes a good pivot / leverage play off of Brianna Stewart. She's 9-4. She hasn't really played all that well. She hasn't been over 30 more than once in the last 5 games. She had struggled with an injury recently. But, this is a game Seattle needs to win. If they win, they'll be clearly in first place heading into the break. And they're at home. So I could see Lloyd, playing really well here. Mercedes Russell at 7-1 is interesting. Would wish she's cheaper, but without Magbagor or Talbot around, she is going to absorb a big chunk of those front court minutes. You did see she played 34 minutes against Phoenix. Phoenix has a really tall front court with Turner and Griner, so Russell will probably be on Griner, so I expect her to play 30-plus minutes again at 7-1. She did score 24 fantasy points, which is more than adequate at that 7-1 price. We're looking for around 3x in our cash games. And then at the guard, Sue Bird is 8-3. She's fine there. Katie Lou Samuelson, Jordan Kennedy, and Epiphany Prince are going to be kind of, sharing minutes at that secondary guard spot. Katie Lou at 6K is a little priced out, but she finally had her mini breakout game against Phoenix there. She scored 25 fantasy points, 14-5-1. Big thing was she took 12 shots. They traded away the number 1 pick, in the offseason to bring Katie Lou in. And she hasn't looked the part of somebody you would trade a number 1 pick for. She looks like a role player and a solid one. But in college, she was a big-time shooter. She's known for being a scorer. So it's nice to see her do that against Phoenix. So I think that her number will be called upon again here. With the Storm being semi-short-handed, I could see her, building on that 24, maybe even hitting, 30 today potentially. A very low chance of that outcome happening, but it definitely exists. And then the nightcap game, the game that will be roughly 3 hours later than the rest, Minnesota at LA. Pete had mentioned there's a showdown for that one. It's just not a really desirable game. The Lynx are -7.5. It's a 158 total, so it's the second lowest on the slate. The Sparks really, they have the Ogmuke sisters are out. Risky Tolliver's out. They've had players banged up left and right. They're playing, essentially what amounts to career role players in the starting lineup with players like Nia Coffey, Brittany Sykes and whatnot. They're good, though. Miracle Wheeler at 9-3, she has upside for sure. Zowie B has shown that in the past. But the Lynx defense, especially down low with Sylvia Fowles and Nafisi Collar, is just they're an iron curtain at the rim. So it's going to be very hard for any bigs to do well. And at the guard spots, they force a lot of turnovers. Kayla McBride is an excellent defender. The last 2 weeks, she's been shutting down the best team's wing player. So it's going to be tough for them to score on her. Laisha Clarendon is very good. So I'm just not really interested in the Sparks. I could see this game, getting out of hand quickly and the Sparks kind of tapping out. They just want to get into the Olympic break, get everybody healthy and walk away without any more injuries. So, Carly Samuelson, Katie Lou's sister, is there at 4-7. If you think it is a blowout and she's going to start or potentially get extra run in the blowout, you could look to her. But otherwise, you're really kind of playing with fire if you want to go with any Sparks players. On the Lynx side, this does match up for a good Fowles Collier game. The last game, it matched up for a good game against Vegas too. They ended up beating them. It was a blowout. The final score shows a 10-point win, but they were way ahead for most of the game. And it's kind of seemed like Fowles and Collier were coasting at times. Again, keep in mind that this is the last game before the break. Teams are just trying to get into it without an injury. If the Lynx can, pull out early or they have a 15-plus lead at the break, we just might not see them put their foot on the gas. So I have my concerns about using Fowles at 11-1 or even Collier at 10-7, which is a good price for her, especially Collier, who's really struggling right now. Dantas is too expensive on DraftKings at 8-4 on FanDuel. She's been under 6K, so you can continue to use her there if you'd like. She's been playing really, really well. She had a 37 against Vegas, so she was, hit 4 threes, took 11 shots. She's been over 19 fantasy points in 4 straight, so definitely a FanDuel play. I do like Mlb McBride here. She had kind of a down game for her in the revenge game against Vegas, but she was still over 20. She's been 19 plus fantasy points in 5 straight. She's found her offense. The main thing, too, is she's playing lockdown defense, as I mentioned, so expect her to probably guard, Brittany Sykes, Taya Cooper, players like that, and really cause them trouble. And the fact that she's able to play high-level defense and then come down and stroke a 3 speaks to how good of a player she really is. So I do like her at 8K. I think, if this game blows out or they want to, kind of give her confidence heading in, we could see her take a lot of shots today. A bit of injury news here. Crystal Dangerfield is questionable. She did leave the Friday game early with a shoulder injury, so she may not play. She's been struggling. She's the reigning Rookie of the Year. It's been a really bad season for her. They probably won't use her, so you could look at Bridget Carlton there at 4'8" as a potential replacement, or Rachel Banham at 4'2" off the bench. Again, just if you're running multiple lineups, you want some different exposure, that's where you could get it. But otherwise, I think this is a game that I'm going to be fading. And if you guys know me from college basketball, I have a very hard time staying away from the late game hammer. So not having a piece of the hammer in my main it's gonna make me pucker up, if you know what I mein. But I think it's the right decision ultimately. Core wise, give you guys some cores. The FanDuel early only slate, which is a 2-gamer. Jonquel Jones, the 2 Sabali, of course, and Kaya Stokes. That's your 3-person core there. FanDuel main slate. Brittany Griner. I do like Jewel Lloyd on FanDuel because she's only 6'6", which is way too cheap for her. And then as a value, I put Shea Petty, but you could really have any of those values, that are around that range. And then on DraftKings, that Phoenix Mercury stack, Brittany Griner, Skylar Diggins-Smith, and Kaya Stokes from Vegas. So Stokes and Griner are kind of chalky, but then I throw in the Skylar Diggins-Smith play there that should give you some differentiation. And then Prize Picks is up now. I have SDS over Skylar Diggins-Smith, over 33 fantasy points. I think she hits that over quite easily. And then Mlb McBride over 26.5 fantasy points. Normally they have Sabali on there, which I was hoping, but they took her off. I think that, they had her at 24, 25 for weeks, and we've just been cashing that out tough. But they finally pulled it. So those are your 2 main prize picks for today. As we head into the break, you might be wondering, what are you guys going to do? You and Pete. Pete said he's going to be taking a break. Still no word yet about TBT. If they roll out the TBT, I will start having previews as early as tomorrow, as long as I get confirmation of that. The All-Star game potential for DFS. I know the MLB All-Star game, they have stuff for that. And then, any of the Olympic stuff. So, as USA works their way through the tournament and other foreign countries, they did have that foreign tournament, 2 years ago? That was like playing at 3 a.m. my time. They did have DFS for that. So I would expect the same for the Olympics. So we'll be doing some stuff. Aussie. I am going to put out an article for Aussie if you guys are interested in that. It's a 1K to first showdown tonight. It's a featured one, really large tournament actually. So definitely check that out. Opportunity to, smoke some people. There's always horrendous lineups. Even the regular players of Aussie that I see, names I recognize, they put out some really questionable lineups, and they play all the time. So if you're looking to make some easy niche sports money, definitely check out Aussie, the article that I'm going to release later on in the day. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it. I appreciate everyone who tuned in live. Yep, pucker up my guy for sure. If you're watching this on demand, definitely go over in our Discord. On my Twitter there, at DubDeuces85, I posted the link for the Discord and this, our site in general for your fielder's choice. Appreciate it, guys. Take care. Lend lots of money today. Let's light up that winning lineups room. Thanks a lot to G for stepping in as our producer today, the man, the myth, the legend, and Pete, of course, for his daily grind on MLB. Thanks, guys. Be easy. Bow, bow, bow.